Everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We'll give 30 seconds for people to sign in, log in, and we will kick off very, very quickly. We are on multiple channels, so we'll be on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and also on Restream platform. So depending on where you're signing in from, we would be able to stream direct to you. All right, we can see a number of people have already logged in. We'll kick off. We welcome today Vlad and Ritvik. Vlad is from Succeedium and Ritvik is from News Corp. How this relationship started is last year when we signed up News Corp as one of our clients and took them on the modernization journey, we very quickly realized that they were using Google Sheets as their platform instead of Excel. So when we upgraded their TeamOne to the cloud, it sort of necessitated them having both Excel as well as Google Sheets and was creating a lot of productivity issues. That's when we spoke with Vlad and we did some testing and found out that TeamOne, which is a connector of Google Sheets to TM1, could be a really good solution. Today we have Ritvik telling us about how his journey has been at News Corp in implementing that and gaining some real momentum with the application and what they're doing with it. We'll also have Vlad showing us the demo of the tool so you can assess and see if it is something that is suitable for you. Uh, the bit of webinar housekeeping. In today's session, we will have the streaming on multiple channels. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat, in the respective chat that you have, or drop us a line. And we will be addressing all the questions at the end of the webinar after the demos. So over to Vlad and Ritvik. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. I'm Vlad Den, co-founder of the Succeedium and one of the creators of TeamOne. And today's session is all about how we can use TeamOne to put the power of IBM Analytics directly into the user's hands and use TeamOne to improve the existing processes. So we're going to review how we can build self-serve reports using familiar spreadsheet tools, create dynamic dashboards and reports, and use collaborative Google Sheets capabilities to improve general budgeting and forecasting processes. And at the very end, we will have a Q&A session. So please use the Q&A box below to post your questions, and we will make sure to answer all your questions. And now I will jump into the demo. Okay, I hope you can see my screen now. T1 is a Google Sheets add-on, but as you know, Google Sheets, Google Docs, and Google Slides and other Google Workspace applications are very well integrated. So it's very easy to integrate the data into other applications as well. And if you ever need to update the data, you don't really need to copy paste or redo your slides. You can simply click the update button. And this data is actually coming from IBM Planning Analytics, both the table and the chart. And it's very easy to update the data in other Google Workspace applications when needed. So basically, that creates opportunities for other integrations, including other Google Workspace applications. A few words about the integration. T1 is connecting to IBM Planning Analytics using the T1 REST API. There are several security moments involved. Like, first of all, you have to have a Google account and access to Google Sheets document. If using IBM Planning local, you may need a VPN connection if working remotely. It's not required if using Office network or if you're using IBM Planning Cloud. We also support single sign-on for both IBM Planning Cloud and IBM Planning local. Also, we are using encrypted SSL connection, And all the permissions, all the security that you built into IBM Planning Analytics, it's still applied at the Google Sheets level as well. So why Google Sheets and why TeamOne? First of all, it's in cloud, so that means you don't need to install anything on the server side or users' computers. You don't have any compatibility issues, no issues with upgrades. It works on all devices, not just Windows. It's also MacBook, Chromebook, Linux, and anything else where you can basically have internet browser like Google Chrome. It allows for real-time collaboration with other users, and you can also integrate IBM Planning data into other Google Workspace applications. And today we'll show you multiple ways how you can import and export IBM Planning data. You can view all the existing cube views, subsets, explorations. You can use TeamOne custom functions as well as combine them with Google Sheets native functions. On top of that, like the add-on is certified. We follow SOC 2 standards, and we have annual SOC 2 Type 2 audits as well as penetration testing done. So just to make sure like everything is up to corporate security levels as well. And at this point, I'm ready to create a brand new document so we can see how we can start using TeamOne from scratch. So I'll create a brand new Google Sheets document. And as I mentioned, you don't need to install anything on your computer. So you just need to enable TeamOne from Google Workspace Marketplace. After that, it will show up under the extensions menu, and you can simply open the TeamOne sidebar, which will show up on your right. And this is going to be your primary interface working with IBM Analytics. The TeamOne sidebar, it has all the functionality organized into several tabs, and everything that you see in the sidebar, it all depends on the security that you have. So IBM Analytics users with admin access, they will see more tabs as well as more context menu options. Non-admin users, they will see less options, so it will automatically display or hide options relevant to the user's permissions. The first tab, it contains information about the current content, and as you see, that's a brand new sheet, so we don't have any data from IBM Analytics, but it will start showing up in this panel once we start adding formulas or building dashboards. The second tab, it contains automation tasks, so we can create tasks for things like running turbo integrated processes or just even like importing or exporting data from or to Google Sheets from IBM Analytics. We can also create tasks for automation of some tasks related to Google Sheets, like deleting, truncating, and very soon bursting Google Sheets reports. It's all possible to automate using TeamOne tasks. And this third tab, it contains the model. Basically, it's all the cubes and dimensions we have in IBM Analytics. And again, if you start expanding cubes, it will only display the cubes that you have permissions to. So let's say if some user doesn't have permissions, like to see certain objects, like those objects will be hidden in this preview. Same if you expand dimensions, you will see all the dimensions. And if you expand any hierarchy, let's say if you want to expand the product hierarchy, we will be able to see all the alternative hierarchies as well. And if you expand any particular hierarchy, you will be able to see subsets, including your private subsets as well. So let's go back to our cubes and let's search for the revenue cube. And if we expand this revenue cube, we can see all the cube views. And those cube views are basically created in IBM Planning Workspace. So you can reuse the existing cube views that you created in IBM Planning Workspace. Also, as you see, like those, the first two views, they contain this person silhouette icon. That means those are my private views. So those views are visible only to my account. But I can also see all the public views at the bottom as well. Now, there are a couple of ways how we can start working with TeamOne. The first one is you can simply click any view, and it will open that view in TeamOne Explorer. And Explorer is like a cube viewer embedded into Google Sheets. So we can use the sidebar now. And this sidebar basically will allow us to change the layout so we can rearrange the dimensions and elements. Let's say we want to move our measure dimension to the titles. and we want to move our year dimension to the columns. We can also click any dimensions and we can see the elements. We can see subsets. We can choose the existing subset. We can change the alias as well. And we can also select, rearrange, and even use MDX expressions to select the elements. In this case, we're going to select just a couple elements, and we will click the Save button. And now we are ready to refresh this cube view. And once we click the refresh data, it will basically pull all the data based on the layout that we defined in the sidebar. So as you see, we have our channel and product dimensions on the rows, as well as the year and version dimension on the columns. And by default, TeamOne, it hides or zero suppresses all the data. So if we want to include some empty rows or empty columns, we can go to the exploration settings, and we can use the settings to remove zero suppression and basically include our empty rows and empty columns, as well as apply additional settings. So for instance, by default, we see their formatted values as they're formatted in IBM Planning Analytics, but we can disable this option and then we can apply formatting at the Google Sheets level. We can also use or disable the group rows option, which basically allows us to see the retail element only once for each section. But if we need to display this element for every row, we can disable this option. We can also control hierarchy indentation. At this point, we don't have any hierarchies, but we will see it very shortly. But we can also control the hierarchy indentation as well. We can also choose to auto-fit columns or allow data updates. And basically, it will convert our exploration to kind of, it will just enable update functionality for our exploration. So for now, let's just do a quick exercises. As you see, when I refresh the data, it populated my current tab. And basically, this exploration that was created is directly linked to the sheet 1. So if I ever close this Explorer and reopen it again, if I'm staying on the same sheet, it will open the existing exploration. It's okay if you can easily rename the sheet, and the exploration will stay, and it will remember the sheet even if you rename the sheet. Also, it starts the exploration from the cell A1, but you are free to add additional columns or additional rows as well. So if I select and insert a few rows above, I can add my custom content. So for instance, I can add some report title, and I can apply Google Sheets formatting. Basically, you can use Google Sheets the way you are used to, and you can use the sidebar to control the layout. So using exploration, it's like cube views. You have dynamic rows and dynamic columns, and you can basically select the elements using subset editor, like similar to what you have in PA. Also, to make it look nicer, we can go ahead and hide the grid lines. We can also do a few changes. For instance, we can select different product elements, and this is where I'd like to show you how you can use the dimension subset editor. So first of all, you can see all the hierarchies that you have. If you have multiple alternative hierarchies, you can pick any. For each hierarchy, you can basically select any existing subset, including your private subset. You can select all the elements if needed. You can drag and drop, you can expand collapse, you can add elements, or you can write MDX as well. So let's try to select the root level elements, and if you double click, we obviously will expand those elements. So similar things that you can do in PA, you can do in Google Sheets as well. But I wanted to show you a couple cool features, especially if you want to see how we can actually use MDX. You know that MDX is very technical, and it's not easy even like for T1 developers sometimes. So let's see if I use any real MDX, it takes time like to understand the expressions, but especially if somebody else created that expression. But what TeamOne offers, it offers simplified expressions. Like in this case, as you see, I'm using the root subset. I perform the drill down for using two elements, product total, and another one, which is the category I selected. It was the font element category. And I can use like these simplified expressions like to build like pretty complicated expressions, dynamic expressions to select my rows or columns. And it will be still easy to read and easy to understand for other users, including non-technical or business users. So let's say we would like to select a couple elements under the tablets. So for instance, we would like to select the tablets category group, and if you click apply, we'll just use that element. So we can simply copy paste the elements to this expression editor, and it will just use those elements. But we can also do some manipulations with those elements. So for instance, let's try to see all the descendant elements. So if we use the descendants mode and click apply, it will basically expand the tablets, and you will see all the nested levels of children elements. Now, let's try to filter this list by displaying only the level 0 elements. And you can actually change this level to anything, but we'll keep it just a level 0. So again, if you click the apply button, now we will see only the elements from level 0 under the tablet's consolidated element. Now, let's say we also wanted to filter this element by some attributes. So let's say we wanted to filter by product color, and we can select silver. We can also use a few elements. So let's say if you want to silver and gold and something else, we can list multiple values. So you can use like UI to do it, but my goal is like to show you how you can actually write an expression that will be transparent for other business users. So in this case, we are filtering the elements under the tablets consolidated group. All the descendants, we filtered by level 0. And finally, we are filtered by attribute product color equal to only silver. So if you click the apply button, now we see all the products under the tablets with product color equal to silver. But we can actually change, we can add more elements if needed. So for instance, we wanted to also add the fonts category. So if you just click add the fonts element, you'll get the fonts category here as well. And let's say we wanted to expand that element as well. So now we'll see all the previous elements plus our fonts element expanded. And anytime if you want to see the real MBX, because obviously like TeamOne, it will need to use real MBX to query data from IBM Analytics, we can click this convert to MBX button, and we will see the real MBX that will be sent to IBM Analytics. And as you see, even in this case, it takes some time to understand what that MBX does. So if you're using simplified expression, it's way easier for non-technical users to create dynamic expressions. And even when using MBX, real MBX, we can still add elements or combine with MBX modes as well. So for instance, if I want to add this personal computers to the end, I can still use semicolon and personal computers. And now I will have my MBX and personal computers. If I want to filter my elements by wild search, let's say all the elements containing, I don't know, ending with triple zeros, right? So I can write that expression as well. So now if we remove the alias, we should be able to see some elements ending with triple zeros. So there is a bunch of options how you can write those MDX expressions, but our goal is to make it as user-friendly as possible. Another example would be to use some existing subset. I know this dimension, it has a subset called groups. And what we can do, we can easily expand this subset. So basically, if you just select groups, it will display all the elements from that subset. But what we can do additionally, we can apply all the MDX modes to the subset. So it doesn't have to be a specific element, it can be a subset of elements as well. So if you click expand, we can apply the expand mode. And if you want to, I don't know, add probably the product total element at the end, we can do it as well. So if we use this expression, now we will have all the groups expanded. And at the very bottom, we will have our product total element added as well. So for now, let's probably switch to the groups only, because I wanted to show you a couple more features later. So if I click this subset, all those expressions, they appears under the dimension name as well. So if you click the refresh button, if you reopen this exploration, you will be able to see those selections directly in the sidebar. So you don't need really to open the editor, because in most cases you can just have like very short simplified expressions. And finally, once you change this layout, you can always save it back to IBM Planning Analytics. So it's good to be able to open the existing cube views, but it's even better to be able to save those cube views back to IBM Planning Analytics. And because I have admin access, I can save it as a public view, but obviously other non-admin users, they will be able to save it as their private cube views. And same thing you can do to subsets. So if you open any subset, you can save it back to IBM Analytics. And again, you can save it as a public or private subset as well. Now, let's try to create some formulas, because if you check the current report, we actually don't have any formulas at all. All the content is driven by the sidebar. So everything we select in the sidebar basically generates our report. But if you want to have like granular control and use formulas, we can still use explorations, but I wanted to show you something different as well. So if we click a new sheet, and first of all, we can just use the existing exploration to generate T1 formula. So if you just click T1 formula, again, we have several options, and I will go through those options shortly. But if you simply click the create formula button, it will add that formula, and it will basically add all the elements from the existing layout. So similar thing, you can use an existing cube view as your starting point. And if I just close my Explorer, and by the way, now you can see that we have some data on sheet 1. But if I recalculate the current sheet, which is the sheet 2, it will recalculate the formula that it auto-generated based on our exploration, and it also added the sheet 2 to our content list. So now we can see we have T1 formula auto-generated, and if you double-click it, we can see how it's built. So basically, it's using our cube name. It's using our row elements, column elements, context filters, and we can also use some options and sort order. And just to show you how simple it is, like to build those formulas, I'm gonna recreate this formula completely from scratch. So let's say you would like to use the same revenue cube, and you would like to see our gross revenue data. And I would like to use my actual and budget for my columns. And for my actual, I would like to display data from 2023. And for budget, I actually want just to display the next year. So I'll use Google Sheets simple calculation. And for my rows, I'd like to display my phones, tablets, and personal computers. And now I can add my T1 function. And again, so I need to select my cube, which is the revenue cube. I need to select my row elements, and those are my 3 product categories, and my column elements, which are those 4 elements. Finally, the context filters. And by the way, like those last couple arguments are optional. So if I don't have any context filters, I can just omit those elements. I can even omit the columns. That's fine. As well as I can also include empty cells into my rows, columns, or context filters. So in this case, I'm just adding a few more extra blank cells, and T1 is smart enough like to ignore those empty cells. And now if I click the recalculate button, it will start looking for the data. Like first of all, as you notice, I didn't specify any dimension. So I just specified like some elements that I know, because I'm a business user. I don't really know much about cube structures, dimension order, or maybe like dimension principal names. So I just use like something that I'm familiar with, like version names, years, or product categories. T1 will automatically find the dimensions from that cube that even if you didn't specify those dimensions. So let's say I see it added this little note. It says that because I didn't specify all the elements from all the dimensions in the revenue cube, it automatically selected some default members from those dimensions. So what I can do now, I can simply copy those default members, and I can paste them to my context filter. Basically, it will not change the data because it's the same context filters that it applied previously. But I just want to change a different element. Instead of total company, I will display just Canada. I don't want to use my channel total. And for my months, I'd like to use June. And for my channels, I'd like to actually add them to my rows. So I'd like to have my retail, internet, and distribution channels. And I will simply copy paste the same product categories to my rows. And all I need to do now is just to make sure I have all the newly added elements in my formula. So basically, as you see, I only need to adjust my row range, and basically that's it. So now I can simply click the recalculate button, and in the meantime, I can again hide grid lines. I can select my my titles and just apply some formatting. Let's do something simple. Like this. And basically now we have data pulled from IBM Planning Analytics using the TeamOne function. And this data is just raw, unformatted values. So we can use TeamOne function options, like to specify option F, like to pull the formatted values, or we can just apply formatting at the Google Sheets level. So if you select a range of cells, if you click dollar amount format, it will nicely format all the values. Now, let's also try to add some calculation at the Google Sheets level. So let's say I'd like to see the difference between my actual and budget data. So in this case, I will just create a simple column title, actual versus budget. And as you see here, actually using just one single formula, and this single formula pulls all the values, basically pulls multiple values for every single combination of row and column elements. And it's smart enough to ignore those empty lines. And we can do the same for empty columns. We can add empty columns as maybe additional spacers, or I will show you how you can use those rows and columns to actually apply some report level calculations as well. But for now, I'm just going to apply the same idea for my difference column. I'd like to use the built-in array formula. And similar to TeamOne function, this function allows you to manipulate with multiple values. So let's say I would like to get all my values from my column E, from my budget values, and do minus all my actual values. And that's it. So now I calculated the difference using just one single formula, and previously I used another single formula to pull all the data from IBM Analytics. Let's also quickly format this column title. And by the way, we can also format the values. So let's say we wanted to apply some conditional formatting. And to make it simple, we'll just use some simple built-in formatting rules. And we will just click the done button. That should be sufficient for this demo. But basically, we can apply any conditional formatting using the Google Sheets functionality. So now let's also add some calculations here. So first of all, I wanted to add some forecast data. Let's say I wanted to add one column. Let's even add two columns. First of all, let's add forecast data. And I wanted to use the same 2024 year. And because I'm adding this element right in the middle of my column range, I don't really need to change anything. I can simply click the recalculate button, because as you see, the range auto-expanded, and T1 is pulling data for the newly added column without any changes. So now let's review a couple options that we can use with the T1 formula. So if we start going further, with the arguments, we can use the options argument where we can apply some flags. And actually, if you just expand the help function, you can see all the different options that you can use, and all those options are also documented on our website, on the TeamOne documentation website. So let's see if I wanted to use to make those columns off the fit. So let me actually hide this help section. I can use the flag A. So basically, it will adjust all the column width based on the values. So if you have, larger amounts, it will make the columns wider automatically. If you want to, let's say, reverse the sign, we can use the option R. Or if you want to display 0 values, if you have any empty cells, we can use option Z. We can use option U if you want to make this formula, this layout or report updatable. So that means you can change the value and upload that value back to IBM Analytics. And there are several other flags that you can use with the TeamOne function. So basically, those flags, they change the behavior, the output of the data, but also the behavior of the function as well. And now I'd like to focus more on special flag, which is the S flag, and that flag stands for static mode. So if I simply recalculate the layout, it will bring all those values back. But now the TeamOne function, it will return only the very first value, like the value in the cell D8 with the formula, and everything else will become static. So it will no longer be returned by the formula, but it will be kind of like printed statically. That gives us like several cool features. First of all, now you can use those empty rows and empty columns to add additional calculations. So let's say I just wanted to add some subtotal. And in the subtotal, let me adjust the range. It should be from D8. So I can add a calculation in between some rows. And I can even like copy that calculation to my other columns as well. And let's say I wanted to make it, bold, and I can easily apply it to my other product categories. So, right, yeah, so I changed something to, it says that it doesn't want to expand because it doesn't want to override data in the cell H19, which is this one. So if I simply remove this value, it will bring all the calculations back. So when using a formula that operates with a range of values, it will not auto-expand if you try to override a single value. So for instance, if I add something here, right, you will get this ref error. But once you remove that value, it will bring everything back. Okay, so now we have our TeamOne function. And we also have other functions or other calculations for our rows. And we can do actually the same for our columns. So let's say if I just wanted to have like some grand total, like in this example, it's going to be some, maybe just this, just the sum of all the categories in 19. Okay, and let me copy this to everything else. Again, make it bold. Now I can also calculate maybe some ratio, like this value to this grand total. And let's also enter that grand total as well. So we can copy paste, and we can also select all the values and change the format to be percentage. So now we kind of like have other calculations right in the middle of our TeamOne function values. Yeah, so that basically gives you flexibility to build any report that you want, and you can, add empty columns or calculated columns. And it's enough just to use one single TeamOne function to pull all the data from IBM Analytics, and then you can add a bunch of Google Sheets level calculations to calculate other columns or in rows or just some cells. And of course, you can have a bunch of TeamOne formulas as well. So you can pull data from different cube slices, or you can pull data from multiple cubes in one single report. And that's a perfect solution like for building static reports. But if needed, you can also change this layout to be dynamic, similar to explorations. because as you remember, the beauty of exploration is that you can have dynamic columns and dynamic rows. So let's quickly try to build the same report using MDX function. And like exploration, we're gonna build dynamic reports with dynamic rows and columns. So let's actually copy what we have here. And let's create a new sheet so it looks clean. And now our TeamOne function, we're gonna delete everything that we have in the first line, and we're gonna use TeamOne function, and we're gonna replace it with the MDX function because we want to make it fully dynamic. So using the MDX function, it's very similar to TeamOne, but instead of using a range of elements, we can just use dynamic expressions. And to make it simple, we're going to define that expression in the cell B1. And let's just probably try to build like the same expressions for our dimensions on the row. So let's merge it and highlight it in green. And as you remember, we have elements from the channel dimension and elements from the product dimension. So let's try to recreate it. So our channel dimension, we're going to use, let's say, all the leaf level elements. So we can just use leaves keyword, and it will bring all the leaf level elements. And for our product dimension, we're going to use, let's use that group subset that we used previously in the exploration. So we can specify the dimension name, then character, and then we can specify the element expression. Again, it could be subset name, it could be element list, it could be real MDX, it could be element wildcard pattern, it could be everything together as well. So whatever we can use in the subset editor in the TeamOne sidebar, we can also use in other expressions in TeamOne. So now, if we explore our MDX function again, we can see that we have the same revenue cube. Instead of selecting the element statically, we define expressions for both dimensions at once, and we can have more dimensions if needed. And those expressions, again, can be just as I typed, or they can be like formula calculated as well. If you need to make it even more dynamic, probably you want to select, I don't know, products based on some attribute or on the current months or anything else. It's all possible in Google Sheets. And for our columns, we have two options. We can actually use similar expression to make the columns dynamic, or in this case, we will just leave them static, like using the TeamOne function. And we don't really need these empty columns, so we're going to delete them. And again, so now we can simply click the recalculate button. And now, similar to TeamOne function, some subset not found. Let me see what I did wrong. Product dimension, group subset, channel dimension. So let me make sure that I can actually select the correct subset. So the first one is this the leaf subset. This is correct product, and I think it was group subset instead of just. I can always go to the sidebar and go to the product dimension and find the default hierarchy and expand and see what subset I have. Yeah, this is group subset, not just group. So now if I try to refresh, it will build this MDX dynamically, and it will dynamically select all the row elements. So it will build all those rows dynamically. And as you see now, I do see the elements, but those are just element names or principal names or codes. And I want to display like some aliases. So for this model, I can simply, again, go and check what alias I have. So if I select my product dimension, I have alias like caption default. So let's use that one. And I know that exactly the same alias exists for my channel dimension. So I'm going to just copy the alias name. And by the way, I'm adding alias, but you can add a bunch of other options. You can add flags like expand above or do something else. It's all possible. We're just going to save our time for this demo, but it's all documented on our website. And now if I click the refresh button, it should pull the element aliases instead of the element principal names. But it didn't. Again, I think I specified something wrong. Group subset. So let me check again. So I didn't save it. I didn't hit the enter. So I need to copy. That was a quick fix. So now I have my expression for each dimension, including the alias name. So if I click the calculate button now, I should see the element aliases instead of element principal names. Okay, so now I don't want to see retail on every single row because it's the same element for a set of categories, product categories. So what I wanted to leverage the formula options. In this case, I'm going to use the option G, which stands for grouping rows, and I'm going to use option I for hierarchy indentation. And now if I click, like, to see the hierarchy indentation, basically now those are just same level groups, but just to reflect the hierarchy indentation, what I can do, I can simply expand every single element in group subset. And now if I click the recalculate button, I can easily see my rows. They should be grouped, as well as they should use space indentation. So every nested element, it should have an extra space in the beginning. So now I have my dynamic report built just using one single MDX function. Again, it's not complicated for business users. They don't really need to use complicated MDX expressions. They can just use our simplified expressions to build dynamic reports as well. So now I wanted to go back to my sheet 1 where we have our existing exploration. And I wanted to show you that we can use the same formulas but directly in exploration. So now we have a couple columns calculated by exploration, not calculated by pulled by exploration, but I also wanted to add something that would be calculated by formulas. So let's say I wanted to see forecast for my 2024. And that forecast, again, I can simply add to my exploration, right? But instead, I wanted to use some formulas. So I'm going to use the TeamOne function, and I'm going to specify the same cube. I'm going to specify the same row elements, as you remember. So I can select those dynamic rows. Just one little hint, I need to select one extra row because when dealing with ranges and dynamic rows, I know TeamOne will recreate that range. So if I select one extra row, it will automatically expand if we have more rows, or it will automatically shrink this range if we have less rows. So selecting one extra row will keep that range dynamic as well and link to the existing exploration rows. And for my columns, I will select my column titles, and it's going to be the same context elements. Now, I also wanted to add some attributes, and let's say I wanted to see, or let's just recalculate to see how we can see the forecast data. So when we click the recalculate button, it basically recalculates the exploration rows first because they drive all the dynamic rows. And after that, it will automatically recalculate the TeamOne formula values. So now we can see we have the values pulled by the TeamOne function as well. Now I wanted to see some attributes. And I know, like, for each element, remember how we filtered by product color. So I wanted to display actually that product color directly in this dynamic report. So what I'm going to use, I'm going to, like, first of all, with exploration, I can click this expand button, and it will expand the elements under 3G smartphones category. So now it will refresh this element, and I will be able to see the child elements, basically the individual products under 3G smartphones category. And it will have to expand the TeamOne function as well. So as you see, the TeamOne function is still selecting all my rows, and it also recalculated the values for the expanded rows as well. And now I wanted to see my product color product color attribute values. And again, some typo that I'm going to fix quickly. And to do that, I'm going to use the attribute function. So using the attribute function, I can specify the dimension name. And if I have, I don't know, any particular hierarchy, alternative hierarchy, I can specify the hierarchy as well. But in this case, I'm just going to specify the elements, and I will just select all my products. Again, to make it fully dynamic, I will select one extra row. And finally, I will need to specify my attribute name, which is the product color. And as you see, like for every function, we have options and solve order. So if I want to control additional parameters for those formulas, or if I want to control in which order they are recalculated, I can use the options and solve order arguments as well. Okay. And now if I click the recalculate button, it will, again, recalculate the entire exploration. It will recalculate then all the formulas as well. So now we have our forecast data pulled by the TeamOne function, and we have our product color attribute pulled by the attribute function. And if I go and expand the laptops, let's say, just to see another example, again, it will expand that element, it will refresh the exploration data, and then it will recalculate the formulas as well. So it will automatically bring the forecast and attributes for the expanded rows as well. Similar, I can add grand totals at the bottom as well if needed. Now, I wanted to show you how you can actually pull the elements only as well. And for that one, let's go back to our TeamOne function. So let's say we wanted to see all the elements from the month dimension. So like the easiest way would be just to go to the month dimension in the sidebar. And I can go and open the subset editor, and I can see all the elements. Or let's say I wanted to see like some particular subset, let's say MY, and this one includes all the elements plus the total year element as well. And I can, using this menu, I can actually generate the subset formula, and I can also pick an alias, let's say caption default. And actually, I can also select where I want to place that formula. So let's say this B23 cell. Usually building like real example, I would probably create a separate sheet and edit all the subset functions to basically keep my pick lists. But for this example, I just added this directly to the same sheet where I have the report data. So if I click the recalculate formula, as you see, it added this subset function with the selected subset and alias and options as well. And what I can do now, I can simply use these subset results as the values to create a dropdown for my month's element. So I can right click, select dropdown, and then I can select the values from my subset function. And again, I can create a named range, and I can reuse that name range across multiple sheets. But in this case, I'm just gonna select that range manually. So it's gonna be starting from B23. And you may ask, what if we have, I know, dynamic number of elements? So now I have 12 months plus year total, but let's say if you wanted to change this subset expression to something else or make it fully dynamic or formal calculated, it may display less or more elements. So to make sure we catch all the scenarios, we'll make this range as starting from B23 and all the way down to the end of the column B. If we click done, now we'll get nice drop down. So now we can search for July period and select July months. And after it's selected, we can click the recalculate button, and it will recalculate all the formulas on this sheet. And we're going to see the data for the July period in our report. And it should also apply all the conditional formatting automatically. So we can easily use a subset function to create those nice pick lists. So it's more convenient for users to select elements instead of manually typing the elements. I'd like to pause here and pass the screen to Ritvik, and Ritvik is going to show you a few cool real-world examples.
Thanks, Vlad. I will be taking you through some real-world examples as we use in our business. Let me share my screen. Chrome tab. Demos. So, as Vlad has mentioned, there's 3 ways to bring about data from TeamOne. And that is through the use of explorations. One, next is the TeamOne formula, and the other one is MDX. MDX is a bit complex, so I won't go through that for this demo. And yeah, but suffice to say that MDX is quite powerful in the sense that it will automatically cater for any sort of changes. For example, if you have a GL account that's coming through as a new account, it will cater for that without you having to actually code that into your formulas. So as Vlad has shown us, explorations and TeamOne formulas, you can use both ways to bring about data. If you have a look at the the numbers on your left and on your right, they're basically the same, but they're different ways of bringing about the numbers. But how does this translate to our work? So what's happened with us is we have to share these results with our stakeholders on a regular basis, right? And we are on the Google platform. For us to share that, we have to do this in Excel, copy paste our results in basically slides, and send it off to our stakeholders. But with having TeamOne, what you can basically do is you can do up a report in this format, and this would be relatable to a lot of the finance guys. This is a standard sort of a P&L. You can do this up, play around with your months, just change your months. For example, right now it's showing May. I can do June, do a quick recalculate over here, and then that will automatically update, which is linked to my G slides right over here. Column June not found. Oh, because the element is not June, it's JUN. Let's do that again. You'll see that it's recalculating. Takes a little bit of time. And once that is done, you'll see that all I need to do here is go into my reporting packs. This is a simple pack. And then click on that. Just do a quick update. And notice that my numbers have changed, along with, I've linked my headers for the report. It's changed all the numbers and all the headers. And I'm ready to go and share it with my stakeholders. Now, just for context, we did an exercise where we were actually keeping track of the number of man hours saved for News Corp. In the finance world, this has saved about 760 hours per year. And I would say that is quite a significant time saving for analysts, basically to focus on analyzing numbers instead of actually building up the reports. So that's been a true value add for us. Over to you, Amin, to put in any closing remarks.
All right. Amazing savings, 700 plus hours. I can see why you getting extracting great value out of it. So thanks Vlad for the detailed demo, and Ritvik for showcasing how you actually use it at News Corp. While you are doing that, a few questions have come through, and I'll just quickly walk through some of them and see if either one of you can answer that. What happens if the same element name exists in multiple dimensions when using TeamOne function?
Oh, that's a great question. So as I show you, you don't really have to specify the dimension name. So hierarchy names, TeamOne can find those automatically. But if you have an element name with the same name that exists in multiple dimensions, you can actually specify the name. And let me actually quickly share my screen so I can quickly go through those examples as well. So in this example, I wanted to specify the alternative hierarchy, and I wanted to specify that this black element is coming from the product dimension and product color hierarchy in that dimension. So same way you can specify element dimensions for your row or column elements, and as well as your title elements. So this is how it works.
All right, great. We do have number of clients who are using the new PA via AWS, which also has the version 12 engine. Is this compatible with that?
Absolutely. So now, when defining new connections, they have like very simple user interface where you can actually select the connection type. So if I want to add a new connection, I can specify IBM Planning on the cloud, AWS Planning Analytics as the service, as well as local or private cloud connection as well. And this screen will guide you through a simplified setup. So you don't really need to specify like many parameters. That's just the actual minimum parameters that you need to quickly connect to IBM Analytics.
All right, I got another interesting one, which is can I share my Google Sheets with colleagues who might not have TM1 license or Planning Analytics license?
Absolutely.
Yes.
From my perspective, I'm able to share my reports with my stakeholders because the numbers are static. They don't really need to update anything, so it's visible to them. If you want to add something more to that, Vlad.
Oh, that's perfect. Yes, you can share it with anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, you'll need license to do the write back and use the other functionalities of TM1. But if you're just doing mesh distribution, I'm guessing instead of pushing out to a third party tool like Power BI or something for mesh distribution, you could just simply use this, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good comment. Yeah. So you will need to have IBM Linux license and credentials as well to write back or refresh the data. But you can consume the existing reports as is.
Far quicker and easier and cheaper, I guess. Do you support does the TeamOne product support the drill through into the detailed data?
Yeah, exactly. So as I showed you the exploration example before, you can actually select any cell, let's say this product, and you can select the drill through. And even if you have like multiple options, like in this case, I have multiple drill through definitions, so I can select which one, and it will open that. It will drill through that product. And you'll be able to see the results directly in Google Sheets. So now I can see the data related to the selected element. So it automatically pre-selected the other elements based on the clicked element, and it displays the data. And you can even like export the data to Google Sheets if you want.
All right. And I'm guessing you can also run the TIs and shows from here as well then.
Easily, yeah. So like first of all, if you have full admin access, you can see all the processes, and if you scroll down, you will be able to see some charts as well, or you can simply search. But you can also select any process, and you can run that process interactively, or you can add it to T1 sheet, or you can go to T1 configuration, and you can create an automated task. So I do have a couple tasks examples in this document as well. So let's say this process, right? So it runs the the copy version process, and it also provides the parameters, and you can actually hard code or basically make those parameter values dynamic, like using some cell level calculation. And then you can create those automation tasks. They will show up on the second tab. So let's say this one, which is the sample T1 process task. And you can simply click this task, and it will execute the process using the parameters that you define directly in Google Sheets grid.
All right, awesome. Let's see what else is coming. Is it possible to combine TM1 data with manual inputs or custom formulas in the same sheet?
Yes, exactly. So basically, as I showed you, you can use one, or you can use actually multiple T1 formulas. Like in this example, I'm using a couple sections, so a couple even like separate reports or tables. And for each section, you can just simply go to the options, and you can define the U flag, and it will convert this report to an upload form. So that means you will be able to change this value and click the upload button, and it will upload the modified values back to IBM Analytics.
All right. This one's come from one of our banking clients. So as you can imagine, there's a additional layer of scrutiny and auditability required in the banking and finance industry. What kind of audit trail or change tracking is available for the write backs?
Okay, so since we are using IBM Analytics, we have built-in log capabilities from IBM Analytics. First of all, this is the transaction log, which reflects the changes to different cube data. So you can basically see who and when modified and what data. And you can actually see those logs directly from TeamOne. And you can use audit log capabilities. And using audit log, you can actually see who modified like the process or who created dimensions, who changed some processes and so on. I don't really have an example from here, but you can, let me just try to select some older periods and see if you can pull some data. Not in this model, but you can see the audit and transaction logs
That's fine.
from IBM Analytics.
Yeah. I'll talk to them if they want to see that particular aspect, and we can do a bespoke show and tell for them. The other one is actually from the same client. Is you can handle large cubes and dimensions with thousands and thousands of elements.
Exactly. So let's say if you try to build a large exploration, selecting like 1,000 of rows. So what TeamOne will do, it will paginate the data, and you will see data being recalculated. One portion at a time, and you will see like percentage how much was recalculated, and you will be actually able to scroll and see the process data while the remaining data is being retrieved.
All right. Cool. That's good. I mean, scalability is probably TM1, so planning analytics strong suite. So it's good to see that's well supported. Um, there's another one which is can a version control or snapshot reports for monthly or quarterly reviews.
Yeah, so like first of all, you can use IBM Planning functionality to create versions, but in TeamOne, you can simply use the functionality to snapshot a sheet. So let's say if you go back to our example, let's say if I create snapshot of the existing sheet, it will basically create a new sheet with the same data. But if you look at this sheet, we will not see any formula. So it will be kind of like a static copy of the previous sheet. You can also automate this process. So if you need to create snapshots for a bunch of sheets, you can create an automation task, which will create automatically snapshots, and you will be able to run the task from the tasks tab in the sidebar.
Yeah, I think that automation bit has been a one of the key feedback from our team as well in using TeamOne is the level of automation that you can do in running your TeamOne is amazing. I've got one from one of our retail guys, and we're going through this there at the moment, so it's very topical. Is what happens if someone modifies a cube or dimension structure that a report is dependent on?
Good question. So another use case for this question would be, when you select a different connection, and as you see, if I have like multiple connections defined, I can easily switch between those connections. And it can be like a separate connection for my dev, QA, production, or other environments, but it also can be a connection to a completely different model. So if I, by mistake, selected the wrong connection, TeamOne will basically tell you that, let's say, the element doesn't exist. That was actually a good example in Ritwik's demo, right? So he selected June instead of GUN, right? In TeamOne displayed that error message to the user, and it was a good hint for a business user because for a user it was very clear that it was the wrong element name.
All right. I think we've reached the end of time as well. So there are a couple of others we were not able to address today. What we'll do is we email you separately on the questions. Thank you, Ritvik. Thank you, Vlad. It was interesting to see it working. It's also very, very interesting to hear, Ritvik, the amount of productivity gains you've got out of this tool on your TM1. For anyone else out there, if you're interested to see more, if you're interested to understand this a bit more, you can either reach out to us as Octane. So we are partners with Succeedium, and we also deploy this on behalf of Vlad, or can reach out to Vlad either way. And we'd either one of us would be happy to help you out and showcase this in a bit more detail. Or if you have a problem that you're trying to solve, we'll see if we can solve for you using this tool. If you're using Google Sheets, I think it is almost a no-brainer that you should be on this. Thank you, Ritvik, thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully, get soon.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye.